Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Take a Look Live. I am Kyle Flaherty, as you can see again by my amazing name. I'm not going to point to it. Do you want to point?
I'll point.
All right. And Mike Hamilton, who's going to stay in the screen this show, we hope.
Well, only if you don't block me out.
All right. We are. Yeah, there was a lot of talk out there on the internet about last week's episode.
Everyone was very sad. I wasn't fully in the screen.
Yeah, so we thank you all for that, and I'll get rid of our names at that point. So today we're going to talk about, this is actually your idea.
It was my idea.
So what's the topic?
The topic is managing growth in the bourbon industry.
Mm-hmm.
So this was sparked by reading an article about all the bourbon experts and their most favorite low-cost bourbons.
Right.
And I said, And then there was a link in there to the Fortune article in February about the bourbon boom and the billion-dollar industry. And it's all sorts of interesting articles. And I said, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I like to drink.
Yep.
I like to do analytics. It's fun.
Yeah, and you are you've already told me that as soon as this show ends, you're running out to go get a drink.
Yeah, if you hear the tires squealing
Yes.
in my truck, it's
All right. We'll make sure to.
it's because there's a medical emergency.
Right,
not because
exactly,
I'm-
right. So I showed the first article that kind of sparked all of this around this, but in the article, and we're going to tweet it out at 21CT Inc. On the Twitter, but it talks a lot about Buffalo Trace actually, and has some good references to an Atlantic article, etc. But I thought what was interesting overall was, especially with bourbon in general, what you have today, if you're a distillery, is what you made 10 years ago. How can you possibly know, or how did anyone know that the growth, I forget what the article said, but the growth has been enormous, 40% or so in the past 5 years. And in that marketplace, that is just huge. And so, I mean, as you looked into it, what are some of the things that you've kind of saw and what people are doing?
There was a couple interesting things in trying to predict, obviously, supply and demand of both inputs to the process as well as, how much to make. I mean, if like you said, in 10 years, how am I going to possibly know what I need to have in stock to make as much money as possible? Because at the end of the day, it's a business, right? Trying to make money. How can I, without charging $90 for a bottle of bourbon that someone may or may not pay for, what's sort of that where supply and demand meet in the right spot to give me the most money for my product?
Yeah, and the other thing that was, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Why don't we just talk about it? It's not in the order that we had, and so I'm going to disrupt. I'm a disruptor. That's how I am. So
Well, the market is being disrupted, so it's.
Are you ready?
apropos.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, this is a paradigm shift. So if you go to craftbeeranalytics.com, and I'll throw this up in a second, but I thought this was interesting, and I know it's not bourbon, but as we started doing research, and we are agnostic to the liquor that we drink. I mean, we're very open-minded when it comes to that. So, and we're both kind of craft beer, some would say snobs.
I would say.
I think the folks in the audience are pointing at me specifically.
Yes, the one person pointing at us in the audience.
Right, that's not true. There is a good audience behind this camera right now.
It
and for some reason, they're not making any noise, so it seems like I'm lying. But
Oh,
Jackie's
there
laughing,
was-
so
there
that's
was a-
good.
there was a-
Thank
there was
you.
a
That makes me feel better. So if you look at this report, and I'll pull it up right now and put it on the screen, and we'll tweet it out. But this talks specifically about hops futures and the fact that you have to start predicting what the pricing is going to be, not only on hops, but wheat and all of those different types of things. And so this analytic and the things that they run, and I don't know how they did it or if this is just an independent guy who's doing these types of things, but he goes through not only beer ratings, which there's a ton of those, but like I said, he has the wheat prices, the wheat trends over different months and over different years, so that then breweries can actually start forecasting not only distribution, but their costs. And that's enormous. That's huge, especially for craft beer, where the margins are so thin right now. And they're trying to get into state after state. They can start figuring out these types of things. And you look at this spike, I mean, we're looking at it now, but if you look at the actual report, 2007 had like a 3x in wheat prices rise in 1 month. Or no, that's by year. So, but that's huge,
by quarter.
Right? Yeah, by quarter, right. So over 1 quarter, it seemingly went up 2x then 3x overall in terms of pricing. And so if you're looking at this and you're going to try to look at future hop prices, you can use predictive analytics to actually start doing that overall.
Yeah, I mean, if you can identify what that whole process looks like, there was another chart in the same report, which was I think specific to the hops, where you could actually sort of see the production cycle and the cyclical nature of the business.
Yeah, there's the barley price. I mean, look at the growth in barley prices over the last 4 or 5 quarters.
Well, notice that. That's when I turned 21, right here at the beginning of that.
So you think you're having a dramatic effect on it?
Well, I think it's me and my degenerate friends.
Huh, that's interesting. So the barley's going up because of that.
Well, it's actually the hops. The hops is
the Hamilton effect.
Well, it's actually the hops is the problem. I like the hoppy beer. So I'm actually.
Well, look at that. The dry hops usage by U.S. breweries.
Right, and those spikes are when I had my children, so I wasn't drinking at those times. So
wow.
I've single-handedly shamed them.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out. Don't worry.
You're right. That is clearly false.
Thankfully, this isn't on the internet. Yeah, so I thought beer was interesting, but the last one is this InfoWeek article that we found, and let me jump to that too, so people can see this. But this talks about Enj Gallo, which is a huge winery overall, $3.4 billion in revenue, 5,000 employees, 60 different brands, 90 different countries. They buy 85% of the grapes from independent growers throughout the world. This is a huge, huge organization. They have 500 terabytes of data that they are looking at in their warehouse and running analysis on it. And from that data, I thought they did something remarkable, and specifically, shout out to their CIO. I think his name is Kent Kusher. They created an entire new product line just based on data analysis.
And the best part of that product line is that I actually know the product line.
Oh, really?
I've actually, someone's actually brought it to my house. I've actually
during one of your wine parties.
I actually went back to the wine scorecard I was telling you about
from
the
really?
wine party, and it actually that wine is in the top 5 of 25 wines in the double blind.
Really?
Double blind.
It sounds better though when you say it.
It sounds
say it.
better.
Just keep it going. Double blind.
So it actually
I don't even know what that means.
And spoiler alert, it is the Apothic Red.
Right.
Which, I'm assuming our vast audience has
really?
heard. And yeah, it's very good. It's well priced. It's like maybe $10-12 a bottle, and it's actually a very good.
And they talk about. I mean, I thought it was interesting, and you can obviously read this on the InfoWeek website. But when they're doing the brand development, they found that how they blended the wine, the different varieties, the grapes they were using, all of that information came out of their data analysis. And beyond that, what I thought was really cool then, all of the marketing analytics that they did for the distribution, all of the push that they did from, come on in, more people. Wow, this is a record for us.
We actually do not have enough
a
chairs
standing room.
Sold out crowd.
It is now officially standing room only.
So I mean, and I was just I was thinking about this, but it's going from product creation, product design, product distribution to the marketing and sales, and then they get all that data back in to then go back to the product itself.
Right.
And I mean, obviously they're doing a lot of the analytics too around grape prices and all the stuff we talked about before with craft beer, but they took it to a whole nother level, one that I had not seen in all our research.
Yeah, the cool thing that I pulled out of that as I was going through is there was 2 things in particular. One, from the distribution side, that they actually with their distributors and their retailers, they actually do all these analytics and actually provide that information to their distributors. So they do all this. They do some 3D modeling and some analytics on when they put the little hanger advertisements on the little bottlenecks. Where's the best placement on the shelf? There's all sorts of cool stuff. But the most interesting thing to me was, given all the data that they have, is the fact that they went and they trained their tasting staff room people to teach wine novices to identify the 5 sorts of types. And they broke down, there's all this data, but they essentially said there's really 5 types of wines. Light body, sweet, medium body, and so there's 5 of those. And there's like this massive spectrum. They boiled it down to something that is more tangible and easy to comprehend, 5 buckets, and then basically launched a wine on that analytic, which has been it's upwards of I think a million cases in the first year.
Right.
Which I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of the wine industry, but
and for them, I'm sure that's a small, just a drop in the bucket. But overall, they have to be continuously innovating and pushing that stuff forward. So back to beer, the other thing that we found was the beer mapping project. And so this seemingly, and it's run by a gentleman, I think this is at Beerinator, which, I mean,
can you have a better beer?
Awesome.
Better Twitter
yeah,
handle?
that's just, he's a hero of mine. So basically what this is doing is taking all of the data that they're getting from different locations, what beer is being sold there, et cetera, and then also crowdsourcing it so people can put information on there to build this just map of beer. And so if I want a particular IPA, if I want Stone Enjoy By or something like that, I can go to the site. Now the breweries are actually doing a better job of that themselves on their sites so that those become a destination. But I thought this one was interesting because it does take in just people, just getting people to actually contribute to this overall. And then he's starting to put out, if you go underneath information, he's starting to put out statistics and analysis on different regional preferences and seasonal regional preferences, which if you're a brewer and a smaller brewer who can't, if you're Austin Beer Works here in town, you might not have the ability to get a lot of that information. But if you can tell when people shift from the heavy machinery double IPA to, some, I don't know any of their other beers, quite frankly. The Pearl Snap or the Fire Eagle or something like that. I know all their beers, actually.
I know.
Yeah. Then you can actually start pushing that to the different stores at that different time based on what people are using. And then if you think about that Google story we talked about, the Google Analytics story of mapping people inside of a museum, imagine what you can do there in terms of all of the different information you're going to get from people and their drinking habits throughout the seasons.
Yeah, and imagine a situation when you start to get data like this, and it's like I'm walking down, 6th Street in Austin. Now, not that I ever go there, but you walk down and
lame.
An analytic recognizes they see my phone. They because everybody's getting tracked everywhere, and all of a sudden a little pop up says, hey, if you walk into this bar, your favorite beer, here's $1 off.
Well, that's why, and you and I have talked about this, and this is between you, me, and the people.
In the internet.
Yeah, in the internet. There's no really good beer apps. There's great wine apps to scan wine labels, to store them, to do all of those things. There's no good, so.
Way to ruin my next venture.
No, but that's our idea, and I don't want anyone else to talk about it or know about it. So that's why I'm saying it now, here.
That way, when we do launch it,
everyone knows about it.
There's a whole bunch of pent-up demand.
Right. What should we call it? Beerinator? It's already taken. So the final thing, shout out here actually to Single Oak Project. Again, Buffalo Trace getting, I don't know, maybe a sponsorship would be.
Just send us a handful of or all of the 194.
To try them.
Distinct, or 192. And we will literally over the next 192 weeks we'll try one every week.
Tree Logger sounds good. So they are, again, going back to kind of crowdsourcing. They're not only getting information from their customers and starting to analyze that and creating patterns, but they are doing a lot of research with the people who provide their barrels, the different types of trees that they're getting, the length of the wood in the barrel, like all these different types of things, wood grain size, etc., and putting that all together and starting to create kind of analysis around that. And that kind of brings us full circle to the first story of the fact that especially distilleries, especially folks that are doing bourbon, need to get on this train very fast because they're literally running out of product at this point. And that's bad for all of us, let's be honest. So that's actually one of our tweets of the week. Chuck Heeman sent that to us. So we're going to wrap it up for this episode. The data analyst of the week that we found when I was doing the most research actually is a corporation. And so it sounds really weird, but you can find them on Twitter. It's at NABCA. That's NABCA. It's the National Association representing the Controlled State Systems. That's easy to say. Can everyone repeat that?
NABCA.
NABCA, there you go. So at NABCA on Twitter, but actually they pushed me towards a ton of different data and a lot of the analytics that they were running overall throughout the industry and throughout the liquor industry, spirits,
Alcohol.
Adult beverage industry,
My lifeblood.
Spirits?
My lifeblood industry.
Spirits. Oh, that was a sad way to end this show. Actually.
Well, I can actually make it sadder.
Wow.
Would you like me to make it sadder?
No, this is what I'm going to do.